Orchid addicts of all various sizes and shapes. Today I'm going to be repotting a bunch of my orchids. I'm going to be using the finest quality bark I can find in my country, and I'm also going to be using New Zealand sphagnum moss. The subjects of today's medical interventions are going to be two of the orchids which I recently unboxed from an order in Orchid Garden from Poland. This is Cattleya purpurata, and this is Zygonisia Murasakikomachi. I'm going to be also giving a little bit of an update of what's the actual situation of my orchids. Okay, that's out of the way. These ones are have come from really small pots, so they desperately need some changing. The Cattleya doesn't have almost any viable roots left, as much as I can say, and Zygonisia has a lot of its roots lost, but I think it has plenty left, because you can see the new soda bulb is plump and the older soda bulb is really plump too, and it has put out extraordinary amounts of growths out right now, and because of that I'm a bit concerned. Is this orchid panicking for its survival? But I shall see what are the further developments of it. Also, yesterday I ordered from a nursery in Lithuania, which website is called Orchideus.lt, and this is this was an orchid from the top of my wish list, and its name is Brassocattleya Amethyst, and this is a Brassocattleya cucullata and Cattleya purpurata hybrid, and this is a near flowering size. It just arrived, and the medium quality is fair in my opinion, so I'm just gonna be adding a little bit of sphagnum moss on the top. If I'm going to discover that the sphagnum moss is pretty decomposed, then I'm going to repot it altogether, because I think that removing sphagnum moss will not injure the roots. As you can see, I have quite a lot of sphagnum right now. This is from a single tablet. Tap tap. And okay, this is what I identified to be a Phalaenopsis Sogo manager. I got it last Christmas for my mother, actually. And right now you can see a new spike it created this summer. It didn't bloom. I think that was because it's out of its season. And there you can see a smaller spike coming out. Also you can see an older spike, and I hope it focuses. You can see it's also starting to grow the newer spike, because right now it's the autumn, so it's the season for these orchids. A couple of the leaves are yellowing, so I might cut them off, I might leave them, I'm gonna see. This orchid had a lot of roots, but for mysterious reasons unknown to me, it decided to abort most of them. I might have overwatered it, but the medium isn't that decomposed. But this orchid is doing healthy. What's funny, I actually photographed this orchid yesterday to put into one of my Facebook groups, and I broke off one of its older spikes, so suppose that's an experience all of us learn one way or the other. And this is the very famous Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory Liodoro. This is an orchid I ordered also from the Lithuanian nursery earlier this year. It has two older flower spikes that are going to continue growing. It has grown a new leaf, and this was the leaf it came with when I ordered, and you can see I sunburnt it. The orchid has stayed in the same place it was before, so you can obviously see there's no new sunburns, so it has adapted to new growing conditions. This orchid became quite pale during the summer sun, and you can still see some residue from it on the leaves, but it greened up successfully. It has a very good root system, but nevertheless I want to repot it I think into sphagnum moss, because I don't like this medium very much. It isn't bad, but it's coconut fiber and stuff, and I just want to pull this into my setup and maybe give it a slightly bigger pot. And this is my tall Dendrobium. It has an orange color of the blooms. It loves flopping, so I have to stake it up, as you can see here. Everything here is staked up, and this one is called Dendrobium Stardust Firebird, and it comes in this like very like unpleasant, unfitting medium for orchids. In my opinion, its roots are not doing fine, but I really think it could have something better, so I will report it. Probably a mix of sphagnum and bark. This orchid has fine roots, and I'm no expert in dendrobiums. You can see the newest canes it created this year aren't as tall as the previous ones, but you also need to take into account then this is a shocked orchid, because I bought it at February, I think, in the middle of the winter, and growths, they look like they should be continuing to grow, but they are actually not going to grow. They stopped because they didn't have enough moisture. This medium is very tedious because it's very easy to overwater it, so you don't want to leave it soggy. Also, some of these roots are dead. So I have plenty to work with, and I will not be filming the process, how I'm reporting them, maybe just some of their roots, so you could see the dramatical situation. I don't really have the aperture to, you know, be able to put the camera to record it all, the process, so let's begin. Okay, I just unpotted the Phalaenopsis Sogo manager, and you can see a lot of its roots are absolutely battered, and I think I found the culprit. Do you see this? This is the dreaded enemy of orchid growers, the sphagnum ball of the seedlings. This shit suffocates the roots, so you know, you better report the orchid as soon as you can when it arrives to you, because it's probably suffering from this condition, which is basically orchid cancer. Well, not cancer, but that place goes to fusarium, but I mean, okay. And you can actually see here where the flower spike was, which I broke, and this orchid fell on the ground because it's a bit floppy, and the shelf it's like growing at is a bit crowded, so okay, I'm gonna remove its dead roots and gonna show you what it looks like afterwards. Just look at this. This is so decomposed. There's no oxygen flowing in it. Oh, look, it just falls off. There's no living roots inside of it. Like, this is a bad idea. It just sucks up all the moisture while the bark is like has dried out. So, you know, it's a bad thing, but at least it has a lot of aerial roots, and some of the pot roots are actually alive still, so let's hope for the best. This does not look like it's complaining. Okay, this is what I am left with here. You can see I removed the older, smaller leaves off. I think 4 leaves is completely sufficient for a Phalaenopsis orchid to be happy. I cut the pot into a little bit in shreds, so I could keep some of the older roots because they were coming out of the bottom, and you can see the roots in the pot, there are only 2 left. So I think that's going to be enough, but yeah, I'm going to try to fit some of the aerial roots in the new pot, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna show what happens after I'm done, and also you can see the leaves are slightly dirty, and I'm going to be cleaning those with pure lemon juice diluted in half with water with a cotton pad, so the orchid's going to be looking shiny, and you're going to see it when it is done. You can see I have repotted the orchid. The leaves are a lot more shinier. I removed just some of the dust and the buildup. They're still a bit wet, but they dry out very quickly. So you can see the orchid is fully potted up. I left the aerial roots out, and here you can see what the half of the so-called good quality orchid medium, what it is made of. So this is what I would call filler content, rubbish and not usable for most orchids. Maybe Cymbidiums, not Phalaenopsis. So I just, you know, went like this and like removed bark pieces who I can actually use. So this is almost all rubbish, so okay. This is how my Phalaenopsis sweet memory looks like. You can see it has a glorious root system. It's a healthy plant. It came out of its pot very easily. You can see it was in this substrate, which is basically similar to sphagnum moss. It's just ground up coconut, and it was also planted in this coconut husk thing as a seedling, and it didn't seem to have done a lot of damage, but this is like not as evil as sphagnumos root balls can be, and also the center of the plant is hollow, but that's more or less typical. I'm going to be planting it up in this spot while it was planted in this spot, and I do believe I will use sphagnum. So yeah, I hope it's not getting too dark. And I will also wash its roots beforehand, because I don't want to plop this into sphagnum moss. It's nothing special, but still wouldn't want to. Holy moly, that's a big airplane. That's a military airplane. Oh, it's fun living near Russia, isn't it? Or constant paranoia. Okay, please. It's a bit of a dramaticalness. I also wanted to say about the previous orchid, it's nothing wrong to plant your orchids into such a, you know, like peat and bark mixture, especially if you live in an environment where, you know, everything dries out very fast. That medium is very water retentive. But you need to take into account it can break down very easily and become very acidic, so you might want to add some seashells or other sources of calcium in the medium to keep the pH balanced. Also, I live in a country which is called Latvia, which general moisture level throughout the year is pretty high. We have more rain than we have, like, you know, evaporation, basically speaking. So things don't really dry out that fast here, unless you're talking about such small pots, but small pots are small pots, they don't exactly count. So the sweet memory has been washed, and you can see its roots are almost clean, and they're nice and green. It's because it was growing in a transparent pot, so they were doing their photosynthesizing part of the orchid. And I actually think that this lighting might be slightly better for filming. That's not my car. So I'm gonna plop this in sphagnum moss and be right back. Okay, this is how the orchid looks right now. I potted it in sphagnum moss. And it's also important to know that you shouldn't compress the sphagnum moss too hard, because it can suffocate the roots, and it's generally recommended to repot orchids planted in sphagnum moss every year because it breaks down fairly fast. I also pulled off 2 of the seedling leaves because the orchid doesn't need them anymore. It's a big lady. It's a bit wonky. I might edit it a little bit, but I'm happy for it growing like in this direction. This is how my Dendrobium Stardust's roots look like. They are pretty healthy, so I am going to actually repot it in that shady peat moss and bark medium, because this orchid actually came in a pure peat substrate, so I don't want to make it a radical change, and I also don't really want to plant Dendrobium into sphagnum moss. I don't know why. Because this medium is not far from it. Potting my Dendrobium is done, and this was the quickest orchid repottage I have ever had in my life. When I unpotted it, I just, you know, shook the plant and all the peat moss came falling out. Now I just like took all of this mediocre quality bark peat medium and just plumped it in there, shook it around a little bit so it would get in the middle of the roots, and there you have it, a happy orchid. At the previous time I ordered this medium, it was actually like this. It wasn't like this. It was actually like this. So okay, without hesitation, this is the Brassocattleya Amethyst. See this? Let's check this. Does this look decomposed to you? It looks to me
let's report it.
Brassocattleya's roots look like. They're very healthy, but I wanted to say they're much more fragile than the Phalaenopsis roots, because you can see I broke some off here. And knowing the reputation of Cattleya type orchids, this might decide to abort all of its roots. I hope not, but in any case, new ones are coming from, and a new growth is coming, so I'm fairly confident it's gonna be okay. The sphagnum moss came out very easily. My fingers are just a bit too thick to handle the roots of delicate orchids. Simple, easy. It took more sphagnum moss than I thought, but I mean, I'm completely fine with it. I just found a random previously used orchid prot, so with a decent size, so yeah, just use it. I plopped off one of the seedling growths because I don't like seedling growths, and yeah, it's getting pretty dark. I'm actually going to give you a demo about how I clean the leaves. So here I have the diluted lemon juice. Take the cotton bud, squeeze the excess out, and awkwardly apply it on the leaf like this. Yes, with a single hand, what could possibly go wrong? Super efficient. Oh, look, it's actually doing something. Oh. Now like this, so it becomes shiny and clean. So yeah, I'm gonna finish doing this. As you can see, the Cattleya purpurata roots are not as bad as I thought they would be. All of these seem to be alive, and as you can see, quite a few of them are producing new growth tips. And the newest growth, the tallest one here, also has a lot of new nodes, eyes, and it has not created new roots yet. Well, it has, but I think it will create more. So I think it's gonna be okay. I did not cut that much off of it, except this one. This is the progress on the Zygonisia root cleanup. As you can see, nothing much has happened. But here's what I got out from it. So it's incredibly condensed, and this is a very long, tedious process, and I have already broken off a lot of roots. It's a good thing this one is growing a lot of new growths that will give me new roots, but it would be beneficial if some would be left. And also, not so many are actually dead than I expected. You can see within, there's a fair few who are good. Okay, I am done with this monstrosity. You can see there are not a lot of roots left on this one, and I think the roots are clean enough for me to plop it into a fresh sphagnum medium. This is what came out of the little pot. There's quite a bit, and you can see there are quite a lot of healthy roots that have been cut off. They were already injured, so I didn't want to keep them because they would most likely just rot off. But I am really happy though I was able to keep this one growth root, which is like super healthy. So I'm confident this orchid will be able to recuperate, and you can see the new growths on this one are absolutely fabulous. Today is the next day, and actually finishing up repotting my Cattleya purpurata and my Zygonisia Murasakikomachi took up about an hour, so the sun had fully gone down and it was too dark for me to finish filming it now so I'm filming it now. If anybody was wondering what was the squeaky sounds in the last video clip, it was actually my pet cockatiel. I have two of those, and that one name was in Latvian Strusts, and in English it would be thrush, and in Latin it would actually be sternus, funny enough. And also sorry for the cigarettes and the mess that was like in the background. Those were not mine, I swear. I do not smoke cigarettes. I would not waste that kind of money if I could spend it on orchids, of course. So here you can see that all of my orchids are very bright and shiny and they look healthy. You can see the leaves are all fairly clean in this bright sunshine, which is today. Everything's looking quite happy. I have most of my orchids potted up in sphagnum moss because it's my preferred medium. I have mostly just my Cattleya potted up in bark medium because I've learned that they don't exactly like to stay moist all the time. I rather have fastly decomposing sphagnum moss than my mediocre quality bark, which is quite shady. I'm quite sure most of these orchids are going to suffer through their own distinct degrees of shock because of the damage which was done to roots. But I don't think it's anything special. Most of these orchids had plenty of roots left. I only, of course, took off the dead roots, and you can easily recognize them because they're mushy, and the velamin that is coating the orchid comes off easily, and there you can see the actual string, which is the actual root. And I also cut off many of the living roots because I actually cracked the actual root within the velamin. So when that happens, the rest of the portion of the root is going to die off, so why keep it and have it rot the medium? There's really no point in it. I moisten all of my orchids before I repotted them, because then I can more easily see which roots are healthy, and the medium also comes off more easier. I wanted to comment on my Phalaenopsis, sweet memory leaf. Some of you might question this. It is sunburnt, yes, but I'm not going to cut off the leaf. The leaf is fine. It is photosynthesizing. It's doing its job in feeding the orchid so it can create more blooms for me. And this orchid for me actually is a chimera, because it can grow different kind of blooms depending on the circumstances, but it has only bloomed once in my care when it arrived, so it created a new bud. I'm going to insert the picture here, and the flower looked quite different, and dare I say, it was much more glorious. About the flowering, this is mature size, this is mature size, this is mature size, this is near mature size. I don't know if it's going to bloom this year. I don't really want it to. It needs to recuperate first, but it's definitely showing promises that it's a vigorous orchid. My Cattleya purpurata, although it's humongous, doesn't have sheaths yet, so I think it might bloom with its next growth, if it will be able to recuperate, and my Brassocattleya Amethyst might bloom in the following two growths. Brassavolas in my care are doing pretty good because I already have a Brassavola nodosa, and it instantaneously grew very big new growths at the moment I got them, and it's currently producing flower spikes. I will make a overall update on all of my collection sometime future, and I will also feature all of my orchids when they are going to be blooming size. And currently my Cycnodes Vine Delight is producing 2 flower spikes full of buds, so it might bloom in the following 2 weeks. So let's take one last look at all of the orchids. The Zygonisia's leaves are not completely cleaned off. They were not willing to come off, but you can still see it's shiny and happy. So nevertheless, it was a great improvement. The new growths are hidden beneath the medium, but I did not exactly bury them in there. I don't want them to rot, because that's a possibility. Sweet Memory is doing good. I did not clean its leaves with lemon juice, but because I cleaned it before, but you can see it's all very happily potted up, and some of the roots are already showing themselves. The amethyst, it's doing really good. I think it will grow really nicely. I'm really happy it has a new growth growing, because that tells me it's going to be quick to produce new roots, but I think this will not grow any much larger than this. Like, this will not be matured, because this will probably be set back. I'm really not concerned about my Dendrobium, except the fact that he needs to start his dormancy anytime soon. I need to, just water him less, so he will bloom, I suppose, because it has finished maturing its growths. My Cattleya purpurata, I think it's going to be really good. I think it's a strong orchid. It's a bit bendy, but I think I will be able to manage to grow it in more pleasant shape in the future. I don't know how much its roots are going to appreciate me disturbing them, but I think it's going to be okay. Sogo manager, very happy. I also wanted to mention all of my orchids are grown in, mostly all of my orchids are grown in transparent pots, and they receive quite a fair amount of light, so that equals to them growing some algae, but in my case the algae is really just an aesthetical minus. It doesn't really do any harm to the orchid because it just grows on the sides of the actual pot, so it doesn't really concern me. It makes me feel happy and warm inside to know my orchids are growing in a good quality, high quality medium than them growing in something shady like this. So okay, bye bye, thank you for watching. Like, favorite and subscribe. Winky face. There's my puppy. My puppy.